Hi, welcome to today's show, today's podcast, today's session. I was actually decide what this is, but today we are going to talk about a question that I received with regards to how to pick books. What book should I read? And the way I think about books is, I mean, you all sometimes you have a leading, there's an inclination or, I mean, an inkling that kind of drives you towards a book, but that's not the way to read strategically. The way to read strategically is to decide, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? I read a book by what's his name? Ben Carson. Ben Carson. It's called, I think that was Think Big. And he said, he would talk to students, and students would tell him how, this book they are reading or that book they are reading in school, it's absolutely unnecessary. And it reminds me of what I was like when I was in high school, when we were being forced to learn periodic tables and stuff like that. I completely disagreed with them as to what the importance of knowing the periodic table was. I and other students would say that this is absolutely useless. How am I going to use this when I'm done with school? But as I grew up, I've realized something, that it's not so much what the book is. It's who you are and who you want to become. So what Ben Carson was saying in his book was that he would tell students that, who do you want to influence? If you want to influence your friends and your family, your dad, your mom, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife, then you read certain books. You read books that would either impress them, solve their problems, or influence them. However, if you want to influence your business or your company or your town or your city or your nation, you read completely different books. You read books that would influence your city or your nation or your country. Books that would be celebrated by the people that you want to influence, or will help you to influence or bless them. The same way people want to influence the world. You'd be reading completely different things depending on who you want to influence, how far you want your reach to go, how far you want to go in life and stuff like that. So it's really important to know that. That's what strategic reading is. It's having an end goal. So for example, with me, I'm really passionate about growing businesses and helping people start businesses, and also national development and human development and faith and the Bible and stuff like that. So 90% of my reading is going to be on these topics. 90%, if not even 95%. And it's important because I feel it's sad when you meet someone who needs help, and you can't help the person. I feel really sad about that. You're not supposed to. I mean, you may not be able to help everybody in the world, but it's you should be able to help people as they come your way. God has sent them your way for a reason. The Lord has orchestrated certain things for a reason. So you should be a blessing. For example, I have this goal where I want to be able to walk into anybody's store, anybody's office, who's a creative entrepreneur, who's a small business owner, a fashion designer, graphic designer, and add executive, um, anybody in the online entrepreneurship space, and say, hey, this and this and this is what you're not doing in your business. I'll show you these three things, these four things, these five things, and then in the next 6 months, you're gonna call me and tell me that we just made $1 million, we just made $10 million, we just made $1 billion. That's my goal, to be that useful. The Bible has a scripture where the Apostle Paul says that I'm making many rich. That's what I want to do. I want to make many rich, and um, how do you do that if you don't know how to do that yourself? You know what I mean? So that's how to pick books. That's one way to pick books. Either listen to an inkling, or be strategic about it. And by inkling, I mean just listen to your spurs. That's actually what I mean by inkling. Or be strategic about it. If you're regardless of whether you're working in a business or you are, an entrepreneur. If today what is lacking in your business is sales, read the top three books on sales. Give yourself a month, read the top three books on sales, and write down what three things can I implement in my business today. So read to do, learn to do. Don't just read and stockpile. I used to do that. I would buy so many books from Amazon, so many. You should have seen what my Amazon cart looked like. So many books from Amazon, and sometimes I would even read some of them. It was a waste of money because I was strategic. But now I know that this is what I need to do, so I will study. I remember when I wanted to start an online business, I found like the top five or so internet entrepreneurs, and I looked for their courses, I looked for their books, and I studied. And now, by God's grace, it's paying off. You know, it's important. It's important. Whatever is lacking, one way that you can fill up that void is to read. So find out what you need. What is it that what are things that would make my life more fulfilling, would solve these problems. Some people have had money trouble for years. They are always in debt. Or they're trying to get out of debt, but they haven't read any book on how to get out of debt. So I'm wondering how they expect it to change. You know, um, it's important. It's important to consume the right content. I hardly read fiction books. I don't remember the last fiction book I read. It's because right now I'm on a track where I want to develop myself to a point where I'm a blessing. That is globally relevant. And to be globally relevant, there are certain things that you need to read. For example, the Bible will will make you absolutely useful. Like the things you can learn from this book, amazing. Um, Knowing things like how to communicate with people, how to talk to people, how to think better, how to read better, how to develop yourself. Like these things are important. Are important. Depending on who you are, what you want to be, because we all have different goals. But if you want to be globally relevant, there are things that you need to know. Like if you want to be globally relevant, you need to know how to speak publicly. It goes without saying, but I don't know. I guess some people don't know that yet. But um, that's my answer to how to pick a book. And finally, I like to say that look for books by people who have done it. You know, if you read a book, on Warren Buffett, for example, he's done, especially an autobiography or biography. He's done what he said um, he's known for. So when you read his book, you find out how he thinks. You get the images that are in his mind, and then you can replicate them. So don't just read books that are popular. Look at the person's history. Some people may not have done it per se, like someone like Napoleon Hill with his first book, but they've done such good research that you can distill what they've learned without you doing that research yourself. It's kind of like going to um, somebody in your class who, if you're in a school who has done all the research for the semester, and the person has put their book on the table and says, "Hey, you can read it before the semester starts." The person may not have passed all the exams yet, but they've done the research for you. You know, so that's what I wanted to share. And if you have any questions, email me jeff@growing startup.com. Subscribe to the blog. Share this with your friends who want to know. How do I know which book to read? And I'll talk to you again soon. Have a blessed day.